My name is Maria Elizabeth McStravick. I was born on the 29th of March 1931 in a small village on the outskirts of Glasgow, Scotland called Busby.
What is the matter with this boy? What is it?
We had nothing and we appreciated everything we got. Your mother knitted everything. You yourself knitted everything. Or you made clothes, like my mother could sew. My mother made all these dresses for Isabel and I. Now, I can sew, but I was never anything like my mother. She was a great sewer. Baker, there was nobody to beat her. She was a beautiful baker. We had a big range. That was the one good thing. It was a coal fire, and you lit the fire and you kept if you wanted the kettle to boil, you sat it on top of the coals and that would boil the kettle. But my mother had a huge big kettle and it was always in the back of the stove, you know, the stove. So we always had the hot water, but there was no hot water in the house. It was cold running water all the time. So when we needed a bath, we would go to my grandmother, who lived further up the street.
It's not too comfortable that way, any minute. Oh, it's a shame. During the war, it was scary when the planes would come over. The German bombers came right over our village when they were going to bomb shipyards, and the sirens would go off. Well, when the sirens went off, you had to get out of your house and go to the shelter. But my mother would never go to the shelter because they built it right next to the building and it was above ground. But Granny McStravick, they had what they called Anderson shelters. And actually they have a replica of that there's a place in Glasgow. Auntie Susan went with Sarah and they've got a whole replica of everything that went on during the war. They have an actual Anderson shelter. It would be like aluminum and then they would put grass over the top for camouflage. When the German bombers come over, we could actually see them going to Clydebank to drop their bombs. And sometimes my father and Mr. Mackay would find incendiary bombs in our backyards. They had to watch for them because they caused fires. And then they'd have to call the fire brigade to come. My father and Mr. Mackay, they were wardens, so they went round all the houses, and if you had a chink of light showing, they would either shout up to the window, get that curtain fixed. No light had to be shown. When these bombers were coming right over, if lights were showing, then they knew there was buildings and they would drop their bombs. But we were lucky. We were never, just the incendiary bombs that we found, like we didn't find them. My father and Mr. Mackay, they would find them. But Clydebank was badly bombed, very badly bombed. When the war started, I was 8. We used to have to go to school carrying a gas mask. It was a brown cardboard box, and my mother made covers for the boxes so that the box wouldn't get ruined. Your gas mask was in there, and they would have drills at school. Like the sirens would go off. They used to do that just as a practice. And when the sirens would go off, everybody had to get to the shelters. Everybody off the streets get to shelters. You had to put this gas mask on. I hated it. All that rubber, and it had a visor. But thank God we never had to wear them. It was just practices we had to wear them. The Busby Spitfires were all the young kids between the ages of 10 and 14, 16, and then there were a few women and older guys, like we're talking 20 years old. This lady, Mrs. McNeish, she started a concert party, and we'd do it in the backyards, and all the neighbours would come and watch us, and we used to collect pennies. It was just pennies. And then somebody said, you know what, we'll try and get into the church hall, because in the winter it was too cold to do it. we'd sell tickets and people would come and they were always packed. The whole village would come and the concerts were always packed. We did ballet dancing, we did tap dancing. I didn't do the ballet, but I did the tap. We'd sing, and I'd always sing solo. Everybody thought I was a good singer. And I would sing Bless This House, always at the end. But we did a lot of different songs. At that time, there were a lot of songs. This is the army, Mr. Brown. No, wait a minute. This is the army, Mr. Jones. No telephones, no private rooms or telephones. You had a... I forget the words. We're talking 75 years ago, you expect me to remember. But some of them I remember. Wings over the navy, wings over the sea. But I forget the words. I'd need to get the words to them and then I could sing them for you. We used to go in on Wednesday to Glasgow and we go for our dinner. So this day we went, we're in Glasgow and Eleanor says, how do you fancy trying the Locarno? And I said, oh God, we've tried all the dance halls, we don't like them. What makes you think this would be better? And she says, well, let's try it. So we went and had our tea and then we decided to go to the Locarno. This one particular night, I'm sitting on the, we're sitting at the edge of the floor and I saw this guy crossing the floor and I said, Eleanor, I hope this wee smout's not coming to ask me to dance. And of course he was, and it was a tango and I hated the tango. And I said, I'm sorry, I can't do this dance. He said, well, you'd better learn. So I got up and I managed to fluff my way through it. And then every time we went, he was there. I would pay one time if we went to pictures, and he would pay the next time. But we always met in the dancing. I think I met him when I was 18 and we got married when I was 21.